During the day, I'm sad. I have suicidal thoughts. At night, I can't sleep. My anxiety levels are high because I had fear that I would really die. Like I would go to bed and not wake up. My experience in the industry, 1 minute you're somebody that everybody admires and adores, and 1 minute they don't care about you. Dr. Roxanne from Busamed took her hand and shoved it in my cesarean cut and went all the way up to my chest and pumped my heart with her bare hands. And that's how I came back.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you mentioned you had seen some of the red flags, but you still decided to. Why?
For me, that's like the most stupid mistake I've ever made in my life. This guy was abusive before we even got married. So I would literally pray and say, Lord, please help him, help me, and make sure he doesn't get the money for my lobola so I don't get married. I didn't want to.
Why?
I got married because I was pregnant with a second child from a different father. It was not until I could record a video of him smashing a hole through the door. It was not until I showed them that video that family members believed that he is abusive. And if I don't kill him, he's going to kill me. He's thrown me down the stairs while I was pregnant. Yeah. He lost his job on Skeem Saam. I also lost mine. I've got a feeling that maybe our personal lives.
Yeah, I was about to ask, do you think your relationship affected?
Yeah, I think so.
Sure. Welcome back to the Sunday World Engage podcast. My name is Mbalenhle Zuma, and today I have a special guest. We know her from Skeem Saam and on radio. She wears many hats. Pebetsi, welcome to Sunday World Engage.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for reaching out and
thank
coming.
Thank you so much for responding. Bali, I love what you do. Your podcasts are they're very open and informative. For some reason, I feel like we get to know the individuals you interview a little bit better than what we get on screen or in their private lives. So you have a way of making us reveal more than we want to.
Okay. Yeah. So you've worn many hats. We've seen you as an actress. We've seen you as a broadcaster. You're an author. How would you describe yourself to someone out there that does not know who you are or is still getting to know who this person is?
Yeah. So I just recently got this new word. One of my colleagues in the radio station that I work for actually gave it to me. She's like, you should call yourself a broadcasting practitioner. I'm like, that sounds nice. She's like, yeah, I mean, you broadcast on radio, on paper, on screen. Yeah. So I guess the first way to describe me and what I do is I'm a broadcast practitioner, meaning, I have launched my first book. And I still work on radio, which is where I started in the entertainment industry. And there's acting. And now recently, I've just bagged my first TV presenting gig. So I guess I have my hand in literally every jar, right? I'm just not a singer yet. Maybe it will happen. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. But other than that, I don't like to really identify with what I do. I like to identify with who I am. And who I am is that I would say I'm a believer in our Maker. And I'm a believer in Christ Jesus. And that obviously will tell you where to place me in terms of my spirituality. Yes. I'm also a mother to 2 girls. I always uplift that title because it's my favorite title to wear. It's my favorite cap to wear, being a mother to 2 girls, beautiful souls. And then I am a friend, I'm a sister, And I think I'd like to say I'm a healer because people who need some sort of healing always gravitate towards me because I have a healing aura about me. So I guess I am a healer. Just not certified in stone yet, but I can see the signs here and there.
Okay. And then growing up in Limpopo, right? What's a childhood memory that still makes you smile or you feel it shaped who you are today?
Wow, I've got so many. Not many that are good though, but I do have a few that I remember distinctively that are good memories. And that one of them being the first gift my dad ever bought me on my birthday. He bought me a nice, cool bag. They were in at the time, and he got me that bag. And I never asked him to get it for me, but he got it for me for my birthday. And I never forgot that because that was the one and only gift my dad ever got me. And then another very distinctive memory was my 16th birthday party. Um, we lived in the suburbs. My parents had moved us to the suburban area, and we had a pool in the backyard. One of the few families that had a pool. So my 16th birthday party was a pool party. I was not a popular kid at school, ne? So I didn't even think anybody would come to my party. But the whole class came. And it was so surprising. So to this day, some of my friends speak to me about it. Oh, you had the coolest 16th birthday party. So that's a memory I think I hold dear to my heart. Yeah.
Okay. And then let's get into your acting career. So, your role as Mukhadi on Skeem Saam, like, I don't know how to put it. Maybe it's because I watched Skeem Saam, but it made you a household name, like in the industry. Like, can you tell us, like, how was it stepping into that character, and how did it change your life and career?
Who? You see, most people don't understand that when I entered into the role of Mahari, I really had no idea what I was stepping into. Yeah, people don't understand when I say that. That's because I did not have any acting experience when I stepped into the role of Mahadi. I was meant to do a short cameo role, like 3 episodes, be a journalist that interviews Leto to dig deep into his dirty business and expose him. That was what I was called in for initially. The following year, the production house calls me and says, SABC liked you and they want to grow the role of Mahadi and they want to make her a permanent role on Skeem Saam. I'm like, but I don't know anything about acting. I don't know anything. And they said, no, we'll get you an acting coach and everything. But also because I did not want to undermine the craft. People go to school for this, right? So I didn't want to undermine the craft. And I did get some coaching lessons. I did reach out to veterans in the industry. And I found myself getting a lead role, which is very rare in the industry. People usually go through auditions, you become an extra, you become a call actor, and then you become a lead.
So basically, you didn't go through the whole audition. You just thought you're just doing a cameo. So for that cameo,
I did audition for the cameo.
auditioned for that
Yeah,
specific cameo.
yeah.
And you didn't have to like go through the whole process again.
No,
Okay.
none whatsoever. When, as a matter of fact, I wasn't going to audition that day. I was going to take pictures with Wallet because he was my favorite character on screen. And when I was in the queue with my cousin, who was already in the acting performance drama industry,
Yes.
somebody says, somebody told me, you've got a TV face. Would you like to audition? I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. They said, no, do a monologue. And I'm like, what's a monologue? So I quickly Googled what a monologue is and I translated into Spady and I auditioned. All I know is that I was funny because everybody was laughing, you know. And little did I know, 2 weeks later, they call me and say, actually, there's a role we have which was not up for audition on that day, which is just the journalist that's just coming to interview later. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And that's then a year later, well, not a year later, but the following year, the cameo role was in 2014. In 2015, then they called me in for a full-time lead role. So what I'm saying is, a lot of people don't just shoot straight to the top like I did. So I'll never stop talking about how I got into the industry, because I noticed that it's a blessing and it's not your typical story. So I just want to acknowledge the fact that I got a chance that most people don't get, hence why I had to take it seriously from day one. Yeah. And, playing Makari was not easy because Makari did not have a character Bible like in most roles that you play. Makari's character just, and it was just unveiled in front of me as I went. One day they tell me, okay, so Makari is a baby and you're going to have to go look for. I'm like, what? So Makari has daddy issues. She doesn't know who her dad is. I'm like, what? So these things were just unveiled in front of me. Makari is getting married to later. Makari is going to be living with the in-laws. So this is something that was just unveiled to me as I go. And I just acknowledged her as she is. And I tried to relate to her pain, even if it's something that I've never been through. But in most cases, I could relate. Yeah.
Okay. Before we get to in most cases that you could relate, do you feel like your broadcasting career kind of like helped you or shaped the way that you portrayed Mokgadi?
Not at all. It did not, actually, because I remember the first day on set, I was speaking so fast and I was just dropping punches after punch, because the radio, you're given 3 minutes to talk and then you have to link to the next song, right? And in those 3 minutes, you have to say something that is valid and have a punch in it and have a message in it. So I remember one director said to me, you don't have to speak so fast. You don't have to rush. There's no need to rush. We need emotions here. When we need to see them in your face. We don't need to hear them. So I don't think radio helped me with acting. And no, it didn't.
And then also your radio career, like how different was it, like connecting to listeners or your fans in a different medium?
You mean when I got into TV?
So now you're on TV and radio.
Yeah.
So what I mean is, in radio, obviously you connect to your listeners or your fans in a different way. So now that you were in acting, how were you differentiating the two?
Yeah, you're right. I did see a difference. So with radio, people don't know what you look like. Most of the time, they just know your voice, right? And now people are putting the face to the voice. And I remember when I started acting, the comments I would get was, oh, she's got a lovely voice. Oh, she's got a pretty face. She's got a lovely voice. She's got a pretty face. I'm like, can somebody please comment on the acting? The performance. I want to know, what do you think about the performance then, So I had to work on that. I think that became my goal from the onset. If I'm going to do this, I want to make sure people know me for the work and not the looks and not necessarily the voice, right? One thing I can tell you is that TV really grows your following. Your audience or your listeners, if you want to call them. Because like I said, on radio, nobody knows your face per se. And if they follow you, they probably like your work. But on TV, they follow you knowing the face, the voice, and the performance. And I guess that's how all of a sudden I became a household name, which is something I wasn't familiar with working on radio. Yeah. So I always acknowledge my radio following or radio fans more, because those are the people that really, I would say they're my day ones, because they knew me before they knew the face. They attached themselves to the voice before they knew the face. Yeah.
Okay. And then we all know that the industry can be tough, especially like in COVID, Can you share a moment where you had to push through a career challenge and what kept you going?
During COVID.
I was just making an example
Oh,
of
okay.
COVID. Like there are tough times in the
Yeah.
industry, so they affect everything that
Yeah.
goes on.
Yeah. I can identify two from the top of my head. There was a time when Mukhadi was had just been bumped by a car, so she was wearing a cast. The cast was on my right hand, and that's the hand I used to write. Can I tell you that I had to learn to write with my left hand? For that particular time, that storyline, I had to learn to write with the left hand, because if my on-screen son Noah wanted me to sign something for school, I had to use my left. Whatever I'm used to doing with my right, opening the fridge, holding a kettle, holding a cup, I had to do it with my left because the character requires me to do so. And I used to tell people, you don't understand how difficult it is when your character is injured and you need to play the injury as real as you can, although you know it's not real. So it's challenging. Like if you're hurt on your ankle and you need to limp, you can't forget that. You need to remember your character is hurt, So that was quite a challenge for me in terms of acting, performing, because every day, as soon as they put that cast on me, I needed to remember that I can't use this hand accidentally, because you're not really hurt. So I don't want to accidentally grab something with it. So that was the first challenge I experienced, but I pushed through with it. It was just a brain switch that I had to do. Another very challenging moment, though, was when I fell pregnant, which is recent.
In real life.
In real life, yeah. Back in 2021, 2020, yeah. I gave birth in 2021. So in 2020, I fell pregnant. And as a lead role, you are advised to tell management that you fell pregnant as soon as you know, so that they know how to work around you, because you're a lead actor, right? So they need to know, are they going to incorporate your pregnancy into the
The
story or
storyline.
not? And it was challenging for me because when you are pregnant in real life, you undergo hormonal changes. And there's certain scenes where you're not meant to cry, but you'll cry because you're pregnant, your hormones are high. And I remember there's one particular scene that went viral where Mukhadi is telling Leto that I am not getting a divorce. I don't want to get a divorce. You promised me till death do us part. And I remember the scene ends with Mukhadi saying, I want no more young. And people say, I will never forget that scene. But what people don't know is that I went off script because I was pregnant. So people don't know. And it's the most viral video. They don't know that I was went off script because I was pregnant at the time. So yeah, I think those are the challenges that you deal with when you have something personal to deal with, but you still have this character to play. Yeah.
And then, so your character, Mukhadi, like, did the storyline come to an end, or what happened?
At the moment, Mukhadi is in jail with her son.
So
Noah.
we will never, because we see, like currently now, we see
Yeah.
the baby daddy.
Yeah. Look, I don't have an answer to that. I wish I did. I so wish I did, because so many people, whenever I log into social media and I surprise people with my impromptu lives, they always ask me, when are you coming back? Leto is so lonely. Guys, I don't know when I'm coming back. Then I'm waiting to hear.
But some people are assuming that maybe the Maputla wives are cursed because they were both journalists.
Yeah.
And Imshadeabo is not.
Kuyapeta, right?
Yes.
You know what my wish is? To come back. And my wish is to come back as a villain. As a matter of fact, I want to play a villain for the first time in my life, just to challenge myself. But most importantly, I think I just want to reignite Mahadi again. I feel like she still has a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe to get back with Leto or to ruin Leto's life. I don't know. But my wish is to come back. It's just that I'm not the writer.
So, how was it like acting with Harriet Manamela as this evil stepmom?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You hit me at the most passionate part. Harriet Manamela was such a wonderful individual to know in life generally. When I first met her, of course, I was a huge fan, so I had a fan moment. Our first scene together, I was fluffing every single line because I'm nervous. And because in my mind, I'm like, I can't believe I'm sharing a set with such a huge icon, who's done international movies. She's won SAFTAs. Like, what? How did I get here? And the weird part is, over time, we became close. She literally took me under her wing. She's one of the people who actually coached me in the industry. But then we became closer, even outside of work, to the point where she became family to me. So now when people saw us at events together, they'd be surprised, like, how aren't you guys supposed to be enemies? Why are you guys so close now? So
Yes.
yeah. It was lovely working with her. It was lovely being coached by her. It was lovely being a daughter to her for some time. And she became a personal part of my life as well. Yeah.
Okay. And then your book. Yeah, I remember writing about it when you shared that you're releasing a book about your life's highs and lows. What inspired you, like, to put those experiences into words and share them, like, with the world?
So I went through quite a traumatic experience after giving birth, after ending my 9 months marriage. So there was a time in my life where I was severely depressed. I was on antidepressant meds at the time and anxiety meds. So during the day, I was super sad to the point of suicidal thoughts, where I'd even think and Google ways on the quickest way to kill myself and kill the kids so we can end it all.
Was this
This is in 2022.
after you had
After I
your
had my
daughter?
second kid, my marriage had just ended. I don't have a job, and I'm literally living from hand to mouth. I don't have a paycheck coming in. I don't have any help besides my mom helping me.
So during that time, sorry to cut in, what was happening with your radio
I
career?
hadn't started working in radio.
Okay.
So I worked in radio briefly in 2011. Then I got into TV between 2015 and for 7 years. And then I had stopped radio while I was working as an actor, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. I like to tell people that I cheated on radio with TV because I left radio for a while. So for those 7 years on Skeem Saam, I wasn't on radio. I only got back to radio at the end of 2022. But the beginning of 2022, my life was rock bottom. I'm depressed. I'm a single mom. I'm raising an infant by myself. I don't have a paycheck. Everything was just hard to deal with. So during the day, I'm sad. I have suicidal thoughts. At night, I can't sleep. My anxiety levels are high. I had to take anti-anxiety meds as well because I had fear that I would really die. Like I would go to bed and not wake up. And so in that time, I had to see a therapist to help me deal with what's going on in my mind. And the therapist said, why don't you write your thoughts down? It's going to help you because you can't always get me on the phone and you can't wait until our next appointment. How about you write your thoughts down? And I wrote my thoughts down. But as I'm writing, I'm also praying, So if I'm up in the wee hours of the morning, like 2 a.m., and I have no sleep whatsoever, I would write my thoughts. I'll also pray. And I found myself just writing these thoughts and literally touching on every area of my life, my love life, my childhood, my mental health, my motherhood, and so on and so forth. And my experience in the industry, like, 1 minute you're somebody that everybody admires and adores, and 1 minute they don't care about you. Because unfortunately, that's the perks of the industry. One day you are loved and one day you are hated. It's fickle like that. And I found myself putting together pages and pages of my thoughts. And one day, I got an idea in my prayer that you can actually put a book together. And when I looked at those pages, I could see how I can compartmentalize them. You know, this is my debut. This is how I broke into the industry. This is when I identified with my autonomy and my independence. This is how I grew. This is how motherhood came into play. This is how relationships don't work out. This is my toxic traits and so on and so forth. And I found myself having 10 chapters, you know? And so I looked at those 10 chapters and I thought, okay, these 10 chapters, what period of my life was this? That's when I moved from being a teen into my young adulthood until I'm a fully fledged adult. Now I'm a mother of two. And that's how the name of the book came up, A Decade in My Lifetime. Literally 10 years and 10 chapters of the book. So that creative part of it, honestly, I give credit to God for that. I could not really come up with it in my own aspect, in my own intellect, but that's how the book came together. Of course, I had to rewrite it 3 times, okay? It was not ready the first time.
Yes.
It was not ready the first time because I first had to rewrite it because the first time I wrote it, I was angry. So I had to go rewrite events where I was angry at the individual. I cannot paint the individual in a bad brush. So I had to go rewrite that now and make it, and also take accountability for what I did in the relationship for it to not work out. Then I had to go rewrite again to eliminate real names and use pseudonyms in the book because I don't want to be sued, right?
Yes.
So, and then the third time I had to rewrite it, my editor, who I finally decided to pay, because I've been using friends to help me out with editing, but I finally took some money and paid a real editor. And the editor said, okay, I need you to rewrite this and this and this. And I did rewrite. And I also needed to give credit to sources like, as a psychology student, if I'm going to be mentioning any psychology scenario, I need to mention where I got where the source is. Yeah. So that's
Yes.
how the book came about. It took 3 years for it to come out, but it's here now.
Okay. Well done.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you want to share this, but I'm very curious to know, like, because I saw you shared a bit, like, on social media how your marriage lasted for 9 months.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole baby. Like, how does a relationship end so fast? And I think you may correct me if I'm wrong. I think you mentioned that you had seen some of the red flags, but you still decided to. Why?
So I laugh about it because for me, that's like the most stupid mistake I've ever made in my life. The baby is not a mistake. It's marrying the person that was a mistake. When I had lost the screw somewhere because I look back, I'm like, what was I doing? And I will not blame anybody but myself. I knew there were red flags. This guy was abusive before we even got married. And I still married him. I remember my invites came out on Wednesday and the marriage was on a Sunday. People knew 4 days before. People usually send out marriage invites months and months in advance, but I sent it 3 days before because I didn't think it was going to happen. In my mind, I didn't want it to happen. So I would literally pray and say, Lord, please help him, help me, and make sure he doesn't get the money for my lobola so I don't get married. I didn't want to.
Why?
I was pregnant. I got married because I was pregnant with a second child from a different father. And he wanted to marry me. So me saying no made me look like, so this is your life when avele nolo ufuna ukwenza abantwana and not get married to the fathers. Like, is this really what you want for yourself? Moreover, I didn't want to be an embarrassment to my family. And that's what I did it for. Yeah, I got married because I just didn't want to embarrass my family. I was hoping I'd learn to love him. I was hoping he would change. We would do marriage counseling, would go to therapists for his problem with addiction. But it didn't work out. By the time I gave birth, he was already out. Yeah.
So during your pregnancy, he like
He was around.
abusive?
Very. He was around. And I remember during the time, it was still COVID, right? So it's lockdown, we have curfews, but I would be that girl that's begging an Uber to pick us up at 10 o'clock at night because we need to run and go sleep at somebody's house, my oldest daughter and I. And I'm highly expectant at the time because this man is threatening to kill us, you know. So it was hard for a while to tell anybody, or to convince rather, anybody in my family members that this man is abusive because he's so soft spoken, he's gentle when he's not high or drunk. But once he becomes high or drunk, he's a different person. And so they used to think I'm the problem because now I'm vocal, like I'm here. So the problem was me. Like, what are you doing to him for him to act this way, Nolo? It was not until I could record a video of him smashing a hole through the door, the bedroom door that we had locked ourselves into. It was not until I showed them that video that family members believed that he is abusive. And if I don't kill him, he's going to kill me. Because when he does hit me, I don't sit and go, oh, no, don't hit me. I hit him back. So it was a very
While
violent...
you're pregnant.
While I'm pregnant, yeah. He's thrown me down the stairs while I was pregnant. Yeah. And he's a person who just break bottles out of the blue and uzokutshela ukuthi namhlanje ngifuna ukukhipha amathumbu. And you're like, whose intestines do you want to... He just gets angry out of the blue. But
Sure.
he's got psychological issues to deal with, and he only acted like that when he's intoxicated. And so, personally, I had to look at this, my oldest daughter, and say, she's witnessing this literally every weekend. She's experiencing this man, and she was starting to be afraid of him to the point where if he came home, even if he came home sober, as soon as he walks into the house, she would go to her bedroom. She doesn't want to be around him. And this is a man I'm married to. So how are we going to continue with life?
This is supposed to be her dad.
Yeah. So I had to acknowledge that this marriage is not going to work out. And even if we do work on it, by the time we have fixed whatever we need to fix, this child would be damaged psychologically and emotionally. So I had to call it quits.
What's the... I don't know how to put it, but like, what's the moment that you like vividly remember that made you think, I need to get out of here?
It was the day after my malobola.
How?
Yeah.
Isn't that supposed to be your happiest day?
People think it's crazy, but it was the day after my malobola. He drove back to Joburg, and I followed the next morning. And we worked in the same production, by the way. He was the director, and I'm the actor. So I wasn't working on the Monday, he was. So he drove back before me. But that night, that Monday night, we had a fight. And it became so crazy that I asked myself, is this really what I signed up for? And that's when I knew that this is not going to last. This is not going to last. But I tried to put effort into it because, hello, the world just saw you, Ushapa Stepo, matching outfits, and now you're going to tell us that things are not working out. At least try to make it work, Nolo. And I did try to make it work. We did get counseling and so on and so forth, but that's the day I knew that there's going to be a problem here. Because we didn't even have our honeymoon period at all.
So you guys had the wedding, you guys went straight back to Joburg, and then...
We got home, and that night we had a fight. He came home drunk, and he was complaining about how I didn't come home with him. Why didn't I come home with him? But I couldn't leave people at my mother's house celebrating. I wanted to stay a little bit longer. And he was complaining about the letter, the letter you sign with both
families, yes.
Representatives. So they told me to give him the letter for his family side. So when I gave him the letter, he's upset that, I read the letter. But what's so wrong with reading the letter? I can read it. I was there, you were there. So he got upset. I'm disrespectful. I'm not supposed to read the letter. Hey, umfazi womZulu akayenzi so, but I'm not Zulu. I'm Pedi. So I didn't know this, So it just blew out of proportion from there. That I remember that day, my kids and I locked ourselves in the room. So for me, I knew then that it was never going to work out.
Sure. But now you're like, what's the relationship between your daughter and her father? Because at the end of the day, he's still her father.
Yeah, that one is a sad one, Bali, to be honest with you. My oldest daughter has a very great relationship with her dad. They have different fathers, right? So my oldest daughter has such a great relationship with her dad that even when her dad calls, the young one says, I want to speak to daddy. The young one thinks that's her dad because the young one does not know her dad. I don't know where her dad is. I don't know.
He's never bothered
No.
or reached out.
The day I called it quits was the day police came to our house and they asked me, what do you want us to do? And I said, I want him to leave this home and never come back, because that's the day he had punched a hole through the door with his bare fists. And I thought that day I was going to die. That's how I managed to record him, because I wanted the world to know how did I die, who killed me. And so police came, and one of the ladies helped me open a restraining order against, actually a protection order against him. And when he left the next morning, because I had taken his clothes and packed it in a plastic bag, we were living in my apartment. We were working towards buying a place together. The reason we were living in my apartment at the time is because he lived in Pinville, Soweto, and my kid, the oldest one, goes to school nearby. So I didn't want to relocate her to Soweto. So I said, let's live in my apartment until we can buy a home close by in the East Rand. So now it was easy for me to kick him out because I just packed his clothes in a plastic bag and kicked him out. And he was so upset that the last thing he said to me was, "Uzokhulisa umntana ngemali yamalobola." And that's the last I heard of him.
What?
He lost his job on Skeem Saam. I also lost mine. I've got a feeling that maybe our personal lives.
Yeah, I was about to ask, do you think your relationship affected?
Yeah, I think so.
Sure.
And so when he lost his job, he went back to KZN, which is where he comes from, and I never heard from him. I would love my youngest daughter to know her dad's side of the family. Also just to go visit and see or the other side, where does she come from. Agate Mabala, go to the grandparents' graveside maybe. But I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm just hoping time will answer all questions. At the moment, I'm just standing on that hope, but they don't know each other.
Sure. Must be sad. Yeah, so you in your book you've been open about a whole lot of stuff. And you recently shared that you moved into a women's shelter with your kids. Can you tell me about that? Why did you have the courage to tell people? Social media sometimes is cruel. Yes, there are people who can say, oh, we relate. But then there'll be those that are like, okay, you guys are attention seeking.
I got those.
So why did you move to the shelter and also see the need to tell people about your struggles?
So I moved to the shelter because I really had no other place to go. I could not live with friends and my kids any longer. I did not have a home of my own, and I did not have money to move.
After you lost your job?
It was a gradual thing. So believe it or not, at the time I'm still working on a radio station, but I'm doing one show a week, which is Saturday. And the little I get was never enough to pay rent. So my mother would always have to meet me halfway. But now my mother has been meeting me halfway since this child was born. Now this child is 3 years old. So family members started seeing me as a burden, and how my weight is too heavy for my mother to bear, and how I'm the one stressing my mom out. Hey, kwena utishang mama, kwena lwachang mama, because when you're not considerate, you should accept that you're no longer a celebrity and downgrade your life and go back home. And I thought, but that's not what I want to do. I don't want to go back home. I still believe I have a chance in the industry. And my daughter is also in her last year of primary school. I cannot destabilize her like that. And you must remember, I'm only getting help from one father at the time, but he's paying for school, which is a good school. Why should I move a child from a good school, right? So when I realized this, after my family members said that, I realized, yeah, Nolo, you're on your own now. You can't continue living with friends as well. You don't want to overstay your welcome. And I remember one night, it was the night I cried all night. I couldn't sleep. I cried so hard. I've never cried like that before. And I remember asking God, what must I do? And I got a thought, search for women and children's safety home or shelter. I didn't even know those things exist. And I searched and I found one in the area that my daughter goes to school. And I called them first thing in the morning, 7 a.m. And they said, no, come in. We need to do a requirement check because we can't just take anyone. You need to check if you're not a drug addict of some sort, you're not running away from the law. And also the kids, are they taken care of, or are the kids held captive by you? And so I just went there with all my bags, all our clothes. I went there knowing that I won't leave the place until I have a place to stay. And by the end of the day, they took us to a shelter. But when we got to the shelter, some women recognized who I am. And maybe I was paranoid, but I saw some women with a phone, and the light at the back of the phone was on. So I thought, oh my gosh, she's recording me and she's going to go tell people and make money with my story. Not on my watch. I was like, no, 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 no. Make money with my story. So I decided now to let the world know this is my current situation. We're living in a shelter. And yes, that's because I don't have money. Look, I'm not naive to the fact that I was going to get a lot of backlash. I got people saying, oh, the celebrity, I don't want to spend a chelete. The celebrity, they live beyond their means. Why don't they invest? Why don't they, so many comments. But people don't know that I've been working as a single mom for 3 years with no help from the other dad. I haven't gotten a job in the industry since then. Things are tough for me. I'm literally trying. But now it has come to a point where I have exhausted all my resources. I can't keep asking money from family members and friends. They're tired as well. So this is where I've reached. It's been something that's been gradually building up. So yeah, we stayed in the shelter, my kids and I. But as of today, actually last weekend, we moved into our new home.
Nice.
And it's nothing fancy. It's actually a 1-bedroom cottage. But my kids and I are used to sharing a bed since. So I've also managed to pay it 3 months in advance because I don't ever want to see my kids in that situation again while I work on my finances. And I'm hoping that one day I can buy a home for them.
Okay, nice. So you've shared some near to death experiences when you were giving birth, and I think you also had like a hijacking or a car accident.
Hey, I think my ancestors have been working overtime for me. I need to take some time. You know what I mean? Because I was supposed to actually not be alive. 2020 was supposed to be the year I leave this earth. My existence was tested, literally. So I'm pregnant and I'm living with an abuser who every weekend is threatening my life. He throws me down the stairs, he strangles me, he pushes me against the walls. And then when I'm dealing with him, I'm now dealing. I had an incident where I was running away from hijackers. We were coming back from Owar Tambo airport to meet my ex's sister because she was just passing through and she wanted to meet us. So we just went to the airport to meet her for those few hours. Then on our way home, he is passed out on the passenger seat as usual because he was drunk. And then my oldest daughter is sleeping in the back. Now I've been hijacked before, so I have that trauma. I'm very vigilant. If I stop at a red robot in Joburg at night, I know you must look around, and if there's no car, just pass. There's no need to stop. So I stopped for a little bit. While looking around in my rearview mirror, I see this Golf coming at a high speed and it halts very quickly, and guys are coming out of the car, walking towards, running towards my car. And I hit the accelerator because I knew these people are about to hijack me. My partner is sleeping, the chair's down. My daughter is sleeping, so they think I'm a woman alone in a car. They don't know I have people with me. So I hit the accelerator. I'm thinking of my child. I'm like, I don't want it to be traumatized. I'm hitting the accelerator, passing the next red robot after the next red robot after the next. Then the next thing, on an area where I was about to turn right to run away from them because they were following. They went back to the car and followed. When I was about to turn right to just lose them, it just so happened that a Debonair scooter was coming by. It hit the fender of the left side of the car. And the car was a write-off. Like, such a small accident, it makes the car be a write-off. The airbags were out. That's why I said it was strange. But I later realized that I was supposed to leave. That was not my time to be, like, that I was supposed to leave Earth at that time. I survived. My daughter survived. My ex survived. But my daughter and I slept in hospital that day because they had to check my BP and she just didn't want to leave my side. And yeah, I still can't explain why the car was a write-off over something that small, you know? And the police didn't even believe me when I told them I was running away from a hijack situation. But eventually, the statement, they had to write what they needed to write. And we just let it go. I also just let it go with whatever insurance wants to say. But then the day I gave birth, I went to the hospital with no pains at all, no labor pains. I was just tired. And my heartbeat sounded like, I don't know what to call it, a vibrator. It sounded like something was vibrating. So my heartbeat felt strange that day. And I remember telling my mom, she was with us, it was a weekend. And I said, Mom, please can we drive to the hospital? I want to tell these people to take this baby out. I'm tired. And my mom is like, you can't just go to a hospital and want to give birth. You don't have labor pains. I'm going to ask them. I'm going to use my mukhadi face and cause drama in that hospital room. They're going to take this baby out. And when I got there, they're like, so what are you here for? I'm like, I want to give birth. Oh, do you have labor pains? I'm like, no, just take this baby out. But when they checked my vitals, my BP was extremely high. And now they're starting to panic. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? Emergency cesarean. Call the doctors. They must come in. It was 10 o'clock at night. Call the doctors. Da, 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 da. So it was like havoc now. We had Pitizela inside the ward. And then I went to an emergency cesarean. The moment they injected me with the epidural, I couldn't breathe anymore. And I remember letting one nurse know. I just tugged on the scrub, and I said, I can't breathe. That's the last thing I remember saying. And then I'm awake. And when I woke up, I just said, where's my baby? But I couldn't utter the words because I had bit my mouth, I had bit my tongue off. I had fits before my heart collapsed and my lungs collapsed. So they said I had fits. And so I chewed my tongue off. I chewed some teeth off as well. Hence why my teeth are not straight anymore. I chewed my tongue off a little bit. And they just said, give her ice, give her ice. And then I get to the room and my mom is like, no, you must never do that to me again, okay? I'm like, what? What did I do? And then they tell me, you had died for 3 minutes. I died? I don't remember seeing the light. For me, I didn't even know I died, you know. And they said, no, you had died, you had preeclampsia, your heart collapsed. I'm like, so how did I come back? They tried to resuscitate me with those electric things. They did not work. They tried to do CPR on me. It did not work. Can I tell you, to this day, I want to thank that woman because she allowed God to use her. She did something that's unprecedented, something that doctors never do. She told me that she had put Dr. Roxanne as her name. And I'm mentioning her name so that if people want to verify this, they can. Dr. Roxanne from Busamed took her hand and shoved it in my cesarean cut and went all the way up to my chest and pumped my heart with her bare hands. And that's how I came back. And for me, that is, if that's not a miracle story, I don't know what is.
Sure.
I don't know what is, because she still is shocked to this day that, Nolo, you came back alive. When your mother told us, when we went to tell your mother that you died, your mother said, no, go try wake her up. While she was praying. And she was calling every one of my aunts that we must pray. And this lady said, I came back and I looked at you and I didn't know what to do. So she had shoved her hand in and pumped my heart with her own hands. I don't know how she did it because there's a lot of things to pass by, but she did it. And to this day, I'm like, I'm sure you were working with an angel in that room that day. Yeah. And I came alive, and it took me a couple of months to figure out what happened. It didn't make sense right away. And to this day, I still get emotional talking about it because I don't even know why I deserved to come back. Most people don't. In public hospitals, if mother dies from preeclampsia, they let you go. And in my case, it was just not me who died. My daughter was born blue. She was a stillborn baby. And the pediatrician who took her out said, I saw how hard your doctor was working to bring you back alive, that I tried to do CPR on a newborn, which is also unprecedented. And she also woke up. So to this day, when you go to Busa Med Hospital in Marlborough, our story is there as a miracle story, very rare occasion. And that's why I always say, I don't know why I was deserving, but God must have a plan with me. You know, He must have a plan with me. So I always say now, Guti, I'm a diehard, guys. If I did not die in that hospital room that day, never gonna die anytime soon.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's why I said I feel like my existence was tested. Yeah. I wasn't supposed to be here. But I'm here today, and I make
Thank the
sure every
Lord.
day counts. Yeah, now I know the true meaning of life is a gift. Yeah.
Okay, and then you also a mental health advocate. Like, what message would you tell someone who's going through similar things as you're going through?
The reason I call myself a mental health advocate is because I'm a psychology student. Like I said, entertainment industry was never in my cards.
Wait, I think there's somewhere where I read that you studied abroad, actually.
Yeah. I started studying psychology abroad because I stayed in the States for 4 years after high school. I was an au pair there, and you have to study while you're there. It's part of the deal that the American embassy made with South African embassy. So I started studying psychology there. Look, I wanted to study to be a doctor, so for me, I felt like psychology was the closest thing. But also, I've just been curious with how the mind works, right? So I started there, but then when I came back to South Africa, I continued with UNISA. So I've got a psychology degree and a teaching diploma so far in my life. I'm still studying psychology. I want to get a PhD and have my own practice one day. That's my dream. So that's why I call myself as a mental health advocate. Also because I've experienced mental health issues. And in my childhood, I did not know what to call them because I didn't know the word or the name for it. Black people don't have a word for what they're going through. You know, people say, what's depression and like, and what's anxiety and like, because those are the most commonly spoken about mental health issues. But that's because those are the common ones that I experienced. You know, I would say those are the entry level ones. They are deeper ones, which you really need to see a psychologist to be diagnosed. You can't self-diagnose those. But I always say depression is worrying about the past to a point where sadness controls your life. You go to bed sad, you wake up sad. You don't see any worth of life anymore, and you actually consider suicide. So it's severe sadness, agony that comes from a void within you,
Which people don't
which people
understand.
don't understand. And anxiety is worrying about the future, something that's going to happen that hasn't happened. And you're just anxious. And sometimes you don't even understand, why am I so anxious? But it's because then you are a worrisome person. You worry a lot. And that worry now grows into anxiety. And what people don't understand is these things are they don't just pop up now in today's society. Just because we speak about them today doesn't mean they were not always there. They've been there. And I'll take you back to a story in the Bible. When Jesus was in Mount Gethsemane, when he asked Peter and John that they should tarry with him while he goes to pray, in that prayer, they say Jesus was in so much agony that he even was sweating blood when he prayed that, oh Lord, oh God, may this cup pass me by, where he was reconsidering crucifixion. He knew that was going to happen to him, but he was reconsidering because now he could get visuals of how terrible this is going to be. And that agony is just another word for anxiety. That's how anxious Jesus was, that he even sweat blood. And so people don't have a word for whatever mental issues they're undergoing. And so they override the fact that it's a mental illness. And an illness does not mean, so this is now my advice for somebody. Mental illness does not mean you're crazy. It's just how your mind is decoding what's happening to you. And we don't have the same minds. You will decode a situation differently from how I decode it, right? So I always say, when you experience mental health issues, doesn't mean you're crazy, and it's not a life sentence. And it's not a stamp that you should walk around with. No. I see nowadays these young ones think it's cool to tell people that they have ADHD. Oh, my ADHD is playing in on social media. It's not a joke, but also it's not a life sentence. It's not a stamp that you should walk around with. It's actually something that you can work with. You know, for example, I still deal with anxiety, social anxiety on top of that. And people think it's weird because I work in the entertainment industry. Why would you have social anxiety? But I know how to work with it now. I know I'm anxious. I'm going to be around a crowd of people. I'm going to be in front of them talking. How am I going to use that as a fuel to charge me up? Let me act like I'm hyped up for the moment, like I drank 3 Red Bulls. Then when I get home, I'll take off that cap and relax. So you can work around it with the help of a therapist. So it's not a life sentence. It does not mean you're crazy. And if anything, you can beat it. Yeah, and work with it.
So, how do you think therapy has helped you? And also, do you believe that in the acting space, many actors are experiencing mental health issues, but they're just not taking care of it?
Yes, the answer to that is the last one that you just asked is yes. Many performers do have mental health issues. They just haven't identified or diagnosed them. But what people don't know, and it's weird because I'm known as an actor who can cry on action, right? Because of Makhadi's storyline, how Makhadi would just cry on action. But what people don't know is I was doing what we call method acting, where you really use your pain, your real pain, to cry in and use that pain for the character you're portraying. What people don't know is that during my time of acting as Mukhadi, I was dealing with what we call dysthymia. It's functional depression. So you're depressed, but you're functioning. You go to work, you're working on autopilot basically. You go to work, you come back, you cook for the kids, you bath them before they sleep, and you sleep and you do the same thing every day.
It's a routine.
Yeah.
And avoiding the issues at hand.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was performing on dysthymia at the time, but I didn't know that until I got to see a therapist. And dysthymia is dangerous because it's a long standing and a long stretching depression. You can have it for 7 years, if not 10, where one day something happened to you and that thing changed your persona and your mood and your personality forever. And you were never the same from then. But you just lived with it that way. But you did not know because it's trauma that you never dealt with, right? So now it's controlling your life. So what people don't know is those tears were actually real tears. I was crying from a pain, you know? So I just took my pain and poured it into my craft. And had I seen a therapist then, I would have known what's happening with me. But I didn't know. So people underestimate the help that therapists give you. Especially black men, they would say, why do I need to see a therapist? What is she going to tell me? Or what is he going to tell? What people don't know is therapists don't help you find a solution. They actually help you identify the problem that you have. You know, they help you connect the dots in your life. That's why they'll say, tell me about your childhood. How did you grow up? Those questions are to kind of connect the dots and let you know what's happening to you is this. Okay? And I guess that's the same kind of help you'd get from Isangoma when you go in Dumbeni to find out what's happening to you. A therapist does something similar, you know? It's just that they are more, westernized, if I may put it that way. Yeah. So I don't want us to underestimate the power of a therapist. I wish I had started seeing one much earlier in my life. But when I started seeing one, a lot of things made sense about my life and how I operate and why I have this kind of personality. Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm just curious to know, you've lived in Limpopo and lived overseas. Like, how have the two experiences shaped who you are?
You know, what's her name? Alicia Keys' song with Jay-Z. In New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. So they say if you make it in New York, you'll make it anywhere in the world. I wish I had enough time to make it in New York. But today I'm grateful that I started radio in New York because that's where the radio bug bit me and I'll never leave radio again. I'm never cheating on radio again, okay? Never. So I grew up in Limpopo. I didn't grow up in the rurals. I have to be honest, I grew up in the suburbs. My parents moved us to the suburbs as soon as Nelson Mandela left jail. And they were like, yes, freedom is now. So we moved to town. So I would say I had a fairly good childhood, although we had challenges at home, like everybody else. And both my parents are teachers, so my vision in life was to be something within the academic space, right? And but when the opportunity to go to America came, I really could not let it pass me by. I just knew I had to go. And in my mind, I thought, will I ever get a chance to go to America ever again? What if I become those people who can never afford a holiday in America? So I had to take the chance. I took the chance and I lived in Manhattan, Mbali, New York, the heart of New York, what we call the Big Apple. Do you understand? And it was right after the Twin Towers had been smashed down by the planes. So my parents were worried about me going there. Are you going to be safe? I'm like, guys, I'm going to be safe. Let me just go. I lived in a place called Chelsea, which is right next to Tribeca. That is where your Oprahs and your Jay-Z's and them have apartments. So it was a fairly good neighborhood too. I lived with a Jewish family on top of that, and I come from a Christian family. So can you imagine the contrast? I come from a strictly religious household to a Jewish family. that doesn't celebrate Christmas or Good Friday. But I had to learn their culture. I had to learn about Hanukkah, Rosh Hashanah, Bar Mitzvahs. So I had to be embedded in their culture. It was a culture shock for me, but that was the whole point of OPE. It's a cultural exchange program. So that's what I was going to learn there. Look, one thing I can tell you is that I went there when I was still a teen, 19 years of age, actually 18. I landed in the States on my 19th birthday. That's when I landed and saw snow for the first time. And I'm now moving from being a teen to a young adult. And there's a lot that goes on in between. You're finding your identity, your autonomy. You are choosing your religion that is not influenced by parents or your background. You are entering the dating world and you need to figure out what do you like, what you don't like. You are creating a new circle of friends. It was a lot for me to go through in 4 years. And I'm doing it without parental guidance. And I'm doing it on my own. So for me, that was a very pivotal point in my life because I believe that's when I was solely responsible for the decisions I make. Because I can't say it was peer pressure. No, I'm on my own. So it shaped me in a way that I dream different from my peers. And in most cases, I'm not developing at the same pace as my peers, which is fine. We all have our own story to write, but I wouldn't do it any other way. I'm glad I did have that experience in my life. Yeah.
Okay. So you've mentioned something about a security guard making fun of your Skeem Saam role. What's another funny or unexpected moment from your time on set or public related to your role that you've had?
I still experience those funny moments. It's weird. I haven't been on screen for 3 years and people don't forget Makhadi. I don't know why they don't forget her. It's like Karabo Moroka, even though she's Connie Ferguson, we still know her as Karabo Moroka. People know me as Makhadi and it will never change name. So what has happened recently is there's a new show that I'm currently doing, a new role that I've just entered into. And so we speak to individuals, and I'm a TV presenter now, right? New role, that's what I mean. And this lady cannot call me with my name. So we're asking her, why did you do this? And she keeps saying, Mukhadi, let me tell you something. This is not this is not Skeem Saam, please. Like, I don't know how many times I say mama. And she's an older lady, ne? I had to say mama. Cela uthi nolo, hayi Mukhadi. Oh, sorry, mntana, I'm sorry. And then but action. I was like, Mukhadi, ne? I'll say so. This lady cannot remove herself from Mukhadi. And the other funny thing is a lot of men like to tell me, and in my mind, I'm like, but you do know it's a show, right? It's just a show. And I don't understand why it's always a similar type of men. It's men that go to ZCC church. Always hit on me in my DMs. I'm like, why are they all from ZCC? What's going on here? And I realized, Mukhadi is always she's always in a dress.
Oh.
And ZCC women wear dresses and dukes, right? So Mukhadi is your typical woman for them. And that's why they want Mukhadi, but they don't know Nolo. So that for me is always a funny thing to decipher. This person wants Mukhadi. They don't want Nolo. And that's the reality of my dating world, actually. Yeah, people want Mukhadi.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm not dating. I'm not Mukhadi and I'm not going to be Mukhadi for you,
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you could play any role, fictional or non-fictional, in any genre, who would you choose and why?
I would love to do fictional. Yeah, I would, because I'm thinking of a movie. I just forget the name of it. It's got Oprah in it. It's got that Indian lady in it. What do they call that movie? It's Wrinkle. It's called Wrinkle. Do you know it?
Mm-mm.
Okay, it's such a. You'd really need to be into science to know about it, but it's about time travel and parallel worlds. Yeah, I would love to do that because I would just like to learn about this parallel world phenomena. But I always say, before I die, guys, can I please do an action film? Le nna ke batla ho ba Catwoman. Le nna I want to roll down with guns. You know, I jump over walls and stuff. I would love to do that because I'm an adrenaline junkie by nature. So I wouldn't mind if I do a scene where I'm jumping out of a plane and doing some skydiving things, you know. Yeah, so that's what I would love to do.
But have you tried going back into acting?
No, I don't even have an agent.
Why?
Because, like I said, it's not really a passion of mine. If I'm supposed to do it, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. And I think maybe I'm spoiled in the sense that I've never gone in an audition for anything. It's always been easy for me. And it's not easy because I'm lucky. It's easy because I'm chosen to be part of the industry, to be a change agent. I don't know how yet. I'll figure it out as time goes on. But the reason why I always get into the industry with such a lucky stroke, for lack of a better word, is because I'm supposed to be a change agent. But I don't wake up one day saying, yo, I have to go to this audition. I see audition calls and they would want a woman between 35 and 45 and they describe the lady and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll go. But then the day comes and I forget. And that just goes to show that it's not a passion, but if I'm meant to be there, I know that life will work out that way. The universe, God will curate it that I find myself there or somebody will recommend me, right? But I don't want that to be my legacy. I did tell you that my dream is to finally own my own private practice. Yeah. So if I'm meant to be on a role, I will be. I will be, and I'll give it my best, but I'm not really hunting for that.
Then how did you get the presenting role?
They called me. I was chilling in my
lucky
house.
girl.
You see, this is what I say. Like I'm chilling at home. I'm minding my own business. I'm working on my digital marketing business to build, to get a new source of income because we cannot survive on one stream of income anymore. And I get a call and they say, we believe you're the person who can do this show because of the way you present yourself on social media. You are authentic, you are real, you don't mind talking about your struggles. You show that even celebrities have daily challenges like your average Joe. And they said, we believe you're the best person for this show. And I said, okay, I'll do it. Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, I think I have my own desires. I have my own goals, but God also has a plan for me. And I'm very intuitive about how the Holy Spirit speaks to me. And so when I get a call of this nature, I've gotten other calls as well, by the way. But the reason I would accept this one is because I'm not really desperate. I'm just looking for a way to make sure that I can take care of my kids. So when a call like this comes, I do ask my spirit, is this where I'm supposed to be? And once I get the yes, I'll also agree. Yes, I'll do it. It has to be in line with what I do. As a matter of fact, this new presenting gig that I got, for me, it's amazing because it's in line with my passion. It's in line with what I love to do. It's in line with what my book is about. So I feel like I'm living my purpose as I am doing this show. And also, I'm part of something bigger than me. And for me, that's so fulfilling.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm very grateful for it. And I give it my all. My all. The hours are crazy. I leave the house at 5. I come back at 8 in the evening. I hardly see my kids, but they understand. Or mommy has to work, yeah.
Okay, so what's next for you besides your new show and when's the show coming?
July. The show will be on TV screens in July. What's next for me? I just want to focus on helping people heal the children in them so that they can be able to parent the children they give birth to. Why do I say that? Because I've noticed that the reason we live in such a broken society with so many social ills is because we're dealing with individuals that come from a broken home or a broken childhood, but they've never dealt with it. So I want to help people identify that I was broken as a child in this area, and let me help you heal so that we don't raise broken adults. You understand? When they say the children are our future, it means we must really start cultivating their brains at a young age. Let's heal what's broken. Let's just not say, ke bophelo. Se mathomo ka wena. It's not right to say that. And so that's what my book is actually about. And I believe my book will be a point of departure for that. And I'm just hoping that I can find the rightful destiny helpers to work with, a team that I can push with. But yeah, that's what I'm focusing on. And that is work I'll be doing within my foundation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, God did not bring me back to earth to do basic things anymore.
Ooh,
I can't. I can't.
Can I die and come back? Thank you so much
Thank you.
for joining us and
Yeah.
sharing your story. Like, I'm sure it wasn't easy sharing, some personal stuff, but you're a brave woman. Thank you so much for sharing. And hopefully someone out there will be inspired by your story.
I hope so. I hope so. They say the first step to solving a problem is identifying it. And so hiding or running away from identifying the problem will take you longer to solve it. So let's face the music, guys. Let's face it. It's time. It's time.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in on today's episode of Sunday World Engage. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow. See you on the next one. Thank you.